It is I, Tentus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to continue my discussion on the EARTHDAWN Roleplaying game system. We last left off, we were talking about spell magic. I'm going to hit some important notes, almost finishing up spell magic today. So the first thing I do want to talk about is we were talking about Grimoire magic, using a Grimoire. Let's talk about the sequence when it comes to using them. The first thing you're going to have to do, once you're using this Grimoire magic, is of course attune the Grimoire. This works exactly the same as if you were attuning a matrix on the fly. So basically, it's like just like I'm doing my attunement of a spell matrix on the fly, works like that. You're going to make your attunement test, of course, versus the reattunement difficulty of the spell. And instead of taking strain, though, you're going to take a -2 penalty to the rest of your tests, your spell weaving and spell casting, when it comes to using the spell. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, every time you cast the spell, you have to reattune. The attunement does not last. And should you fail to attune, you will be able to, of course, reattune and start over from scratch again. So it's each attempt is a reattunement. Next up, of course, you're going to have to weave your threads for the spell. It's going to be a spell weaving test. Of course, again, you're going to have that -2 that's factoring in here to you. Then you make your spell casting test with the -2. You look at the effects and results of it. The duration and effect are just going to be as standard with the spell as it always has. Now you get into the big thing. We look at the raw magic effects to your Grimoire. First off, we do want to look at warping and damage. The warping, of course, and the damage are going to be determined by your game master, just like it would have been on you. Though this time it's going to target your Grimoire, or the Grimoire you're using. The spell defense of the Grimoire is going to be the target number. If the warping succeeds, the Grimoire is going to take damage. Damage to the Grimoire comes in a couple of forms. First off, it's going to damage the spells within it. It's going to make some of the spells unusable. This more than likely includes the spell that you just cast, plus randomly determining a number of other spells that are within your Grimoire are basically going to be damaged and unusable. This could come up with physical damage to the Grimoire. It's kind of hard to say, and traditionally it does associate with physical damage to the Grimoire. Maybe it sort of sets on fire if it's a book, or if it's some kind of tablet, it might sort of cracking or something. Now you can, of course, repair a Grimoire. This requires you to make a read-write talent test against the highest learning difficulty of a remaining spell within the Grimoire. It takes a day to do this, but then you can repair the Grimoire. Until you repair a Grimoire, you can't put new spells in it, nor can you re-add the spells that were damaged when it took this warping damage. Now, if you should use this again before repairing it, the damage level increases by 1. If ever a Grimoire takes extraordinary amounts of damage, it's destroyed. Now, Grimoire spells that were lost, of course, can be re-added. You already have those in you. You can easily re-add them. But it will take the same amount of time and effort as it took you to put them in the Grimoire in the first place. There are some disadvantages. The fact that you can't use a tutor anymore. The big advantage is that if you spent legend points to put it in, you don't have to spend them again. You've already spent those. It's just a matter of that time, effort check and actually getting it in there. Now, the thing about a damaged Grimoire is it actually can be a stigma amongst members of a discipline. If it's noticed that your Grimoire is damaged, people can look at it negatively, and it can also it can cause some problems within your discipline because of that. Now, just like with you have to worry about a horror mark test. The horror mark test is going to, of course, be against the spell defense of your Grimoire. And when the horror comes to you, it can mark you, as it normally would have, or it can mark your Grimoire. It has the choice of doing those, and it can affect your Grimoire just as it was affecting you with spells and abilities against it. So you can see it has a choice, though, of what it wants to really mark once it detects this. Now, the other thing about it is you never know if you find a Grimoire and pick it up, when it's technically a cursed Grimoire and actually been touched by horror. You don't know when you're going to find one like that, or one that's actually useful. It's unknown because you really can't tell if it's been marked or not. Now, there are many spells that last longer than a single turn. They last for multiple turns. Any spell that lasts longer than one turn, of course, can be disrupted, or dispelled. This is traditionally done with the Dispel magic spell, though there are certain cases where willpower can be used. It will mention under the spell if willpower can be used, and it will give all the details about how that's going to work out and dispelling it with that under that spell. Otherwise, you're sticking to dispel magic. Now, the difficulty, of course, is going to be based upon the circle of the spell you're attempting to dispel. There's a handy chart in the book that's going to let you know this information of what that difficulty is. That isn't the only thing that can be dispelled. Talent effects can be dispelled. Talent focuses, discipline abilities, magic items, creature abilities. All of these can technically be dispelled as long as they last more than one round. You can only dispel an effect that has more than one round of being an effect, and you can never dispel an effect that is considered permanent. So if you should have someone use a talent ability or discipline ability that lasts more than one round, then yeah, you can dispel it. To figure out the difficulty of this dispel, you're going to have to look for, if for example for a talent, you're going to look to that talent's rank. For a creature ability, you're going to look to that creature's ability's power rank. For a discipline, you're going to have to look at the lowest circle that you could take that discipline originally, and then you're going to compare these, of course, to the chart. You're going to use that rank or circle, that talent rank, that power rank, or that discipline circle in place of your spell circle. So they're going to be equivalent to the spell circle when you look at the chart to figure out how difficult it is to dispel. Dispelling removes the target of the spell. Basically, it removes the effect from a target. This does not prevent that person or that target from being affected again by that spell or a similar effect. It doesn't prevent that. The only thing that might prevent that is if there's a time restraint connected to use of that spell or ability. That might prevent it from being used again or reactivating on that thing. That's the only thing that's really going to do there. So that's it for today. I introduced you to, of course, some more details on spell magic, starting with the order of operations from Grimoire magic. Now, there isn't a lot of difference between the order of Grimoire magic and the order of spellcasting. You attune, just like attuning on the fly. You then make your weaving, your spellcasting tests, get your effects. It's the fact that the Grimoire gets hit by that warping damage and horror mark. Horror mark can hit you or the Grimoire, but that warping and damage causes some bad things to your Grimoire, which can be repaired but take time. And if people notice it, there's a stigma attached to it. You did something people don't like people doing because it's dangerous. I mean, really dangerous. I mean, horror level dangerous, which people don't like that level of danger. I then moved in, of course, to dispelling spells. Usually it's using dispel magic, but it's the process of basically ending an ongoing spell effect. Not just spells. Any sort of magical ability that's ongoing and not permanent can be dispelled. Next episode, I'm going to talk about illusions. Go over the rules of them, and then move on to actually talking about the list of spells, talking about the spell descriptions and understanding them when you're looking up spells that you might want to cast. But regardless, if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It's just for the channel, the Empire, the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon. Link description below. But until the next time, I bid you farewell.